Say it records us.
What we have to talk about tonight is just my life from 1940, maybe up to today. I don't know if you people have it. I know there's Filippo, there's Vic, there's DeVecchio, there's quite a few people that came about the same time I came here. So, but our stories are all different. Like I said, I was born in 1935, and from 35 to 40, all I can remember is going to the kindergarten with the nuns. Now, we go to 1940. There was one Sunday that I saw a truck coming to town with those big loudspeakers. Okay, and that was first speech I remember by Mussolini. This was in June 1940, where he was declaring that he was getting into the war and so on and so forth. So everybody was in the piazza, and after the speech, everybody, applauding Mussolini and so on and so forth. Next thing you know, all the kids, 7 years of age and up, were forced to join, like, young army. Everybody wore a black pair of short pants, a white shirt, and every Saturday they had to meet at one certain spot and do exercises. That was 1940. Now from 1940, Palil, whatever, how you translate that in English, I have no idea. Now from 1945, 40, we jumped to 45, when the German troops came to town. They were in town for a short period of time. No, wrong. 1943. The Germans came to town, and strange, they had no tanks, no trucks, no nothing. These were mountain troops. All they had was skis and horses. They were there about a month, and they ordered everybody to move out of town because the war was really close to our town, the fighting. So one night, Mom and Dad, 6 kids, the people across the street, and some other people, we all left Pacentro to go to Santa Eufemia, coming to Pietro Antonio's hometown, because my mother was from there. Snow, this was in wintertime. Snow and no cars, we had to walk, and if you go follow the road, it's about 27, 28 kilometers from my town to Santa Eufemia. But if you go across the mountains, you go up the mountains, down the mountains, maybe it's halfway. But in my hometown, the boys did not, even in the wintertime, did not wear long pants. We all had shorts with long socks, knee-high socks. So imagine having to walk with snow, cold. We all took off, and my brother Carmen had a very old pair of shoes on. Halfway up the mountain, the shoes just fell apart, and we walked to Santa Eufemia. We stayed there about a month. The Germans came in. Everybody's got to move out. So we had no choice. What do we do? Where do we go? Mom and Dad, 6 kids, the people across the street, plus one little old lady from Santa Eufemia. She had no family. We took her with us. We snuck back in our hometown at night in the cold. Now, my grandfather, he was in Pueblo, Colorado. When he came back to Italy, he built a nice house. So we had a nice house, 4 bedrooms and big dining room. So all these people in one house. But now we had a problem. We could not start a fire, because if we start the fire, the Germans would see the smoke. They would come in and pick us up. So all us, this one room, 1 bathroom. And we struggled and we survived. So one day, as my grandmother, she heard a big knock on the door. Now, the front doors in the houses in Italy are not like the doors over here, about yay thick, and they're about yay thick, you know. And so she peeked out of the window, and there are two Germans, a young man and an older guy. And the young man's got a pick in his hand. He's banging on the door because he's going to bust the door and come in. So my grandmother said, well, before he tears the door up, all you kids line up, and we'll go open the door. So we went downstairs, and Grandma opened the door. As she opened the door, the German was ready to swing the pick again, and the kid froze. He saw all of us there, and they came in, and the older German started crying. We couldn't figure out why, so he sat down, he pulled out his wallet, he showed us a picture, and he had a little daughter, about 4 or 5 years old, and she looked exactly like my sister. So he became friend of the family, and every once in a while he was sleepy and he'd bring us some sugar, some salt, and stuff like that. Well, like I said before, these were mountain troops. No cars, no trucks, no tanks, just horses and skis. So they were there about a year. After a year, everybody, all the people that had left town, they all started coming back in. You know? And so we started going out and made friends with some of these Germans. And my very best friend in Italy, his name is Pete. Same age. The only thing he's deaf-mute. But he and I understand each other whenever I go back to Italy. So every day at noontime, all the kids my age, you know, 7, 8, 9 years old, we used to line up in front of the kitchen where they used to serve the troops, you know, hoping that they would give us something to eat. But no luck, they would come out with a bucket of water, give us a shower. So the time came for the Germans to leave because the Allies were getting awfully close, so they decided to leave. So the whole time, all the soldiers left except for 2, with the order to get all the skis they had and burn them. Now, my buddy Pete and I were watching these guys going in, getting the skis, bringing them out, setting them on fire. So while they were going in and out, he and I grabbed a bunch of skis and we ran. But we got caught. And the guy said, those kids that stole the skis, if they don't bring the skis back, we're going to go off the whole town before we leave. So we were lucky because he had gotten 3 skis and I had gotten 4 skis. So he kept 1 pair, and I kept the other pair, and we brought 3 skis back. They were happy, they set them on fire. However, when they left town, they blew the power plant, they blew 1 bridge coming into town and 1 bridge going out of town. Now after they left, that's when it got really rough because there was not very much to eat. And a lot of the kids went out trying to find mushrooms, and what's the name of that? Dandelions and stuff like that. Then the Marshall, how many of you heard about the Marshall Plan? That's something Uncle Sam did after the war. They started sending all these packages over. But as usual, you know, the politicians, especially the mayors and whatever the packages came in, they opened them, they kept all the best thing for themselves, and whatever was left over, they gave it to the people. The same thing with the clothing. And we, 45, 46, now the news came out where Venezuela had discovered oil and they needed manpower. So my town at the time had about 5,000 people. When the news came out that Venezuela was looking for workers, a lot of young people, or even the old guys, they all left. Plus, there was the fact that some families had relatives here in the States or Australia, Canada. From 5,000 We went to 1,200 people left in town. And I was one of the guys with my family that left because my mother, father, and mother come here in the States in 1920 some, I don't know exactly when. And so my dad, like everybody else, went to Venezuela with my brother Paul, and he got in a quota because he had a sponsor, they had a sponsor, my grandmother, grandfather. And when the time came, they came to the state. And 1 year later, we came over. And I came over on the U.S. Constitution. This was the shit. Now, from Naples to Gibraltar, they said the Italians. West of Gibraltar, they switched the menu. Now, I never seen American food, neither had Carmen nor anybody else. So at night, they used to come around with the menu to pick what we want to eat the next day. A couple of days we didn't eat anything because one day we saw macaroni. Oh, macaroni in Italy is a fat spaghetti. It's not the little elbow in it. It said macaroni and something else. Carmen and I were so happy. Said, tomorrow we're going to eat. So we marked down macaroni. Next day, anxious, waiting, finally we're going to eat. We sat down and here comes that thing with that yellow stuff. 67 years later, you don't show me macaroni. So, how many of you remember Dominic Alberico? He helped me get a job at Caterpillar. So, every day at lunchtime, a bunch of guys used to sit together, for lunch. 20 minutes, you had to go to the bathroom, wash your hands, eat, and go back to work. Now, I can speak a word of English, nothing. I could speak some French, because I had studied in school, but no English. So we sit there one day, the guy keeps on looking at me, he keep on saying, F-U-C-K, F-U-C-K. And I look, and I figured, the guy wants me to repeat it. So well, and we went to night school, but it was funny because I lived on the east side of Joliet. There were a lot of Italian people there, but all the people, none of my age, not one of them. After a couple of years, Carmen and I could speak a little English. We used to get the newspapers. Today, from Italy, a family so as a brag. And Carmen and I made a point to go visit all these guys. Filippo, Vic, Gondolino, and all of that. Sam Governal was another guy here, him and Joe. And we had a nice group. And talking about discrimination. We think we were not discriminated against. So, we used to go to Rialto at night, on Saturday night at the movie. And there was Carmen D'Amico, Maria's brother. He had a nice Buick convertible. We used to park right in front of the Rialto. Top down, and Carmen would say, don't forget to lock the doors. Now, we used to go to Rialto, and the girl was so afraid of us because we were from Italy, we didn't speak good English, that when she saw us coming in, she would duck underneath the door. We used to go to the movie for nothing. That's what Joe Rowan now. He was one of the guys. We used to call town and country on a Saturday. We come bowling. Anytime, no reservation, no nothing, so we walk through the door. There was always a lane or two for us.
So it wasn't too bad being discriminated.
Yeah.
There are the pro and cons of everything.
Then we used to go at Aggies. We used to play tennis, we used to play soccer ball, we used to play. So I met a girl there. Her name was Sharon. Ask Joe. Joe remembers. No, Charlotte.
Jim's over there.
So I asked her for a date. Now, her grandmother was from the same neck of the woods I came from. So I figured, she's Italian. She said, oh yeah, I'll go out with you. And Saturday night I went to the house, and they lived right on Columbia Street, there off Down Street. Her mother goes to the door. Who are you? I said, I'm Pietro. I'm here you're supposed to take your daughter out. She said, she can't go out with you. You throw me out. I'm from Italy. I'm from Italian. With the gang, the mafia. And 1958 came along, I got drafted in the Army. So, I had a choice to refuse, and the guy told me, well, if you refuse, he said, don't ever apply for citizenship because you will never get it. So I said, well, I'll go. I went. I met Elvis Presley. I spent 18 months with Elvis.
Really?
I'm not saying I was frank, but I saw him every day. And I went back to Italy and I met my better half here. 4 years later, we got married, and here I am. And that's it.
You made a long story short.
Any questions?
You go back often?
Every year. 2, 3 months. Well, I gotta go see my buddy, Pete. Like I said, he's left me, but he and I understand each other without speaking a word.
And so where are you?
Maybe he's still Rome, but yeah, she's from Rome and I'm from. I'm a hillbilly. That's it.
Does Pete ever come here?
No, but he's during the war, his family was left town and they ended up in Padua. But he's one hell of an electrician. I'll tell you a little story. We have a speaker at the door, and it, 2 years ago was making a constant noise. So I called an electrician, and the guy came over to our house. Spent the whole day, couldn't figure out why he was taking all the wires apart there. So I called Pete, I said, I'm over the house. He came home, I said, what's the matter with this thing? He took it apart, there was a little light bulb in there. Somehow the light bulb was touching something and it was making 5 minutes. The other guy, a licensed electrician, a whole day couldn't figure it out.
What did your father do back in, what did your family do in Italy? Their jobs, and then how did CSS happen?
Well, my father, before the war, worked at the bank in Pacentro, but he had learned. He was a carpenter. So when from Venezuela, when he came over here, he went to work at the lumberyard on Collins Street. What was the name? Joe. The lumberyard on Collins Street. What was the name? Hacker. As a cabinet maker. Paul and I both worked at Caterpillar, and now before Paul went to South America, he was a trade school in Italy. He had to learn to work with the iron. He was good at it. So there was a whole lot of new houses being built in Joliet, and some of the houses needed railings, and Paul was good at it. And so for 8 years we worked full-time at Caterpillar and part-time on our own in a 2-car garage on Chase Avenue. From there I had a couple of kids, and Paul, wife had a couple of kids, and we decided it was either quit Caterpillar and go on our own, or forget it and stay Caterpillar, and it worked out fine. Vic Bernardo worked for me part-time, Filippo worked for me, Joe Bernardo worked part-time. And today, the kids got about 50, 60 guys working for them. That's how it came to be. CSS, Corsetti Structural Steel.
Vic.
Yeah, Vic, yeah. My brother Vic, all the, Vic went to school and became an engineer. Lucy went to school and she was a physical therapist. Carmen, 3 years after we were here, he got in a car accident. He's been paralyzed ever since. He went to school. Then he went to Uruguay, became a school teacher. No, first he worked for us. Then he became a school teacher. He taught school in Plainfield for 6 years. And then he got together with Joe Alberico and they started their own company, JS Alberico there. And now he's at home, he doesn't want to go out.
I saw you today.
Something, yeah, he told me. Thank you, yeah. And that's about it.
So did you and your brothers all come at once, dear sister? Did you all come at
They
one
all
time?
covered it then, yeah.
5 of us. Then I have one older sister, Vera, but she did not come here to the States with us because she was married. You see, immigration laws in those days. Like my mother could not come here when her folks came because she was married, so, and she had to stay there during the war and everything else. The family was here.
So how old were you when you came here?
I was 17 years old.
But in those days, did you have to have a sponsor
Yes,
or a
yes.
trade
We
or
were-
something to prove that you would be?
We were like, my dad was lucky because my grandmother and grandfather were on my mother's side. They were here, so they sponsored my dad. He came over and then he sponsored us and the rest of the time over here.
So
Yes,
your
legal.
grandparents came first.
Yeah, they came in the 20s. I don't know exactly when they came over here, and matter of fact, I never met my grandfather on my mother's side because when we came, he was already dead, so.
When did Vera come?
Yeah, came to
What was it like at outside?
not much because, we got
It's just that it
we got off the boat and, this lady met us at on deck there and says, I will take you to the Grand Central Station and you people wait there until it's time to leave with the train. Now, we had no idea how big the United States was because in Italy, if you travel by car or by train 1 hour, so, oh, I went so far, I drove so far. So we stayed there till 6 o'clock at night, and at 6 o'clock, the lady came back and she said, and they had us separated with the people who were going to Pennsylvania, one to Chicago, California, whatever. Said, follow me. So we got on the train, and we get on the train, and the train takes off. 6 o'clock at night. 10 o'clock at night. Said, well, you know, we should have been in Chicago by now. Oh, nothing to eat, no money. So next morning, about 9 o'clock, Mom said, Pete, we probably went to Chicago and we lost money. She said, see if you can find out where in the hell we are. No offense. In front of me, there's this nice big lady sitting. I tapped on the shoulder, she turned around. And I said, the only thing I could say, Chicago, not Chicago, Chicago. And she started, yep. And all I could say was, So finally at 11 o'clock, looking out the window, I saw something on someplace at Chicago with an arrow. I told Mom, relax, because we So, that was.
And once you got to Chicago, you want your father.
Then my father was there at the station and he came. But like I said, I'll never forget the very first word I learned in English. And then, that's joke over now. When I came out of the army, I cussed so much. Then he used to say, Pete, said, when you speak, if you leave out the cuss word, you make no sense at all. And then,
Maybe I didn't want to do the cut.
and then, like I said, you know, we had a nice group of people. Then what happened? I got married. He got married here, and one went to Shanahan, one went here, and we all got separated. You know. the only time we saw each other was either somebody's wedding or somebody's funeral. And, well, why don't we get together? Why don't we do something? And that's how the call came to be. And we decided, well, I planted the seed, then the seed, San Coronel, and my brothers and everybody else, they got together, they got a lawyer, which was a big mistake. And that's how the call came to be. And that's it.
What kind of schooling did you have growing up?
Well, you see, in Italy, the grade school was much better, no offense. Much better, because by fifth grade, we had to know all kinds of geography. We had to know all the capitals of Europe. We had to know history. Junior high, which was only
What, there's so many.
3 years, just like here. But we had to study Greek, Latin, or English or French. We had a connection. We did math, algebra. Then, the Italian government somewhere, sometimes in the 60s, 70s, decided that their school system was no good, so they switched over to the American school.
System, yeah.
And now they wish they could go back, but the kids don't want any part of it because they're a bunch of jackasses. So. As a matter of fact, when I came here, I could speak French quite well. I learned it in English because you had a choice, French and English. English was so much harder. And after 67 years, I still can't speak English.
The thing is that the French was considered the diplomatic language for which everybody in government spoke English, French. Until a few years later it happened, I don't know how it happened, English came up and French went down. So now we all speak English. Look at Italy, they speak a lot more English than they speak French.
When they start making a universal Italian language rather than all the dialects.
Well, that goes back to Dante.
What, the first
But it became,
Mussolini do it.
yes, well, but in the early 50s, that's when they made a law that all the kids had to go to school till the age of 16. And this happened, one of the first times we went back to Italy, Ann and I went to a store. All they sold was fruit and veggies. And the cutest thing you ever want to see, a grandfather, maybe 80 years old, and a grandson. They were trying to buy something. But the problem was the grandfather could not understand the grandson could not understand the grandfather. Because the grandfather spoke dialect and the kid only spoke Italian.
Now they're going back to the dialect too. No, but if you want to listen to my story, it's a lot different than my husband. Maybe less dramatic, but a little longer.
How many languages did you learn?
Well, in Italy, I went to school for French, Spanish, and English. But by the time I left, I knew nothing. Now I don't even know Italian, so that's what you pay for trying to learn too much.
Yeah. Use the mic. Use the
But
mic.
don't you? Can't you hear me? Oh. I thought I could.
It's on.
No, I don't like. I don't like it. I don't like my phone. But, no. It is a nice No, I was born during the war. Yeah, my parents were engaged for 11 years. Because they were supposed to get married and my mother's father died, so they had to go through the mourning period. And it was at least a year, if not 2 and 3. And then they decided to marry again, and then my father's father died. So here you go again. And now we got to 1940, and Hitler decided to declare war. So, no, they declared it in 39, but in 1940, Italy was going to get into it. And my father said, I cannot wait until the war is over before I get married. So he got married. Now, my mother comes from the same town he comes from. That's how we eventually, and 20 years later, we met. And my mother had to leave town because my father was in Rome. And the only thing she could take was 2 sets of sheets. Everything was left in town, and after the war, she couldn't find it. But throughout the war, she had only 2 sets of sheets for the beds. So that's one thing. Then it happened that Rome was bombed continuously, and my mother was afraid. Right, my father too. I was the only one there with them, and they had to run day and night and for shelter. So they decided to go to my father's hometown. There is an Abruzzi too, but it's an hour and a half travel from his hometown. And once we got there, the other surprise was that our house was taken over by the Germans, had become a headquarters for the Germans. So instead of being in our house, we went to the granary, and that's where we slept. And mattress made husks. Husks are a little harder than straw a little softer. And on the ground. And we used those mattresses even after the Germans left because we had no what do you call it, the bottom for the beds. We had to put planks on the headboards and put the mattress over there. Otherwise, we would be still sleeping on the floor. Yeah. And my father, since he was, he knew how to work with steel because his family came from steel, blacksmith family. That even today, the clock in the steeple church is the one that my great-grandfather made. Because in those days, the best blacksmiths were from Abruzzi, from the mountains of Abruzzi. It was not. And so he knew how to shoe horses, and the Germans need shoe horses. So he was all over, even that they were using our house, and we were. But then when after the war, and there was I think it was worse than during the war, at least for us, because there was really nothing there to have. And my father had learned how to shoe horses and fix article of land, like Golan called it, l'arado. Come si dice l'arado, come si dice in inglese? The plow. People would pay him with a bag of beans, a bag of potatoes. So we had no money to buy anything. And so that's when my father decided that there was time for him to emigrate. The only thing is that from his hometown, not many of them went to America or to Australia. A lot of them went throughout Europe. My father is one of the few ones that came to America, but circumventing the straight line to the United States, he went to Venezuela too. But my uncle was supposed to go to Venezuela, and at the last minute he decided not to. So my father took his place. You could do that in those days, I guess. Everything is possible. So. And my father went to Venezuela. And then in 1960, that's when the rest of one was my mother, myself, my brother and sister. And we stayed there until 63 when we came to the States. But we came to the States because my mother was a US citizen. And she could call us, papers at the embassy in Caracas.
How did she become a citizen?
Here you go. My grandfather came to the States in 1884, no, 1894. And he came, and he kept on going up and back and forth. And even took one of his sons that then came back to Italy, got married, they came back here. But the other son, he had two boys, the other son never wanted to come to the States. And when the war started, that was it, he was going to go to war. He was not going to live later. So, and he died, so he's missing in action. While he was here, he was a U.S. citizen. So any child he had any place in those days would be allowed to have the American citizenship unless they voted for their country. See, once, like at the end of the war, when Italy became a republic, and there was a vote, my mother did not vote. That's the way she kept her citizenship.
So he was here, and her mother
No, my father was in Venezuela.
in Venezuela.
Yeah, so we all went to Venezuela then afterward. After about 6, 7 years, my mother, myself, my brother and sister, and myself, we went to Venezuela. And 3 years after I was there, that's when we moved to the United States. Because Venezuela was one revolution after another revolution, after another revolution, and it was always shooting and shooting. Real bullets, no fake bullets, real bullets. So my mother said, well, this is it, we're gonna go to the States. And so we went to the embassy, that was not too far from where we lived, brought all the papers, and next thing you know, and that's the other one, I had to come with them. If I had not had come with them, I could not come. Because I was going to be too old to come with the family. So, and that's how we came here. And, if I tell you that I'm happy here, well, that I'm happy because I have a husband, I have the kids, I have the grandkids, and everything. I didn't accomplish much because I was home all the time, but whatever I achieved, I liked it. But then other things,
You achieved a lot because you were a good parent.
Huh?
You achieved a lot because you were.
Well, I did, and that's an opinion. That's an opinion.
It's the truth. It's the truth.
All the while the Germans were in town, only one woman got killed in my hometown. After we were forced to leave town, one night she tried to sneak back in. She got caught and she got killed. And her name was Luisa Pompeo. Now, I don't know if any of you relation to our Secretary of State.
He's from Monaco, his family.
No, excuse me. Pompeo is from Pacentro. The mother is the grandmother from San Jose, from Calamari. They arrived, got to Italy, they were forcing their way up north because they landed in Sicily. And that's why the Sicilians made a big mistake because they should have asked the U.S. to annex them and become Americans.
Did they try to?
They tried.
I don't know. Yeah, but if I use the mic, a lot of you people don't understand.
It's much better with the mic.
The way my hometown is situated, on each side you have Maiella, which is one of the tallest Apennine mountains. On the north side you have Morone, which separates from Pacentro from Caramanico, San Pettorino. On the west side you have Gran Sasso, which is the tallest mountain in the Apennine. So they cannot bomb our hometown with the planes. But however, 6 miles from Pacentro, there's Sulmona, that goes back to the Romans' time. there was a very important railroad station there. So every day, we could hear this whoo. We all used to run at the villa. And we used to see all these planes come in and go down the Sumon at the railroad station, just bomb the hell out of it. And you could see the artillery shooting at the airplanes, and every once in a while you would see one plane go shh, boom. That's the end of the story.
Those were German planes, Pete?
No, yeah, German plane.
German planes.
Yeah.
Did you meet Pete?
We met in Pacentro. I went back, well, I was in the army, I went to visit my grandmother because she did not want to come to the States because she said, my husband is buried over here, no one stayed here. So I was on leave, I went to Pacentro and I met my wife.
Oh, okay.
Hey, when did your sister Vera come over then?
She came about 6-7 years later than we did, yeah. And she had,
It is around 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 boys, one is a doctor, and one is in finance, but she's gone. She passed. Yeah.
Hey Pete, what were some of your first impressions when you came here to America? How different was it for you?
Well, everything was different. I remember I used to pick up the phone to call somebody, and somebody else was on. But in my hometown, after all the men left for Venezuela or Australia or whatever, there was only one phone, and it was at the post office. So when somebody from outside Italy called, they would make an appointment. So the person in the post office would go at the house and say, today at 3 o'clock, come to the post office because there will be a phone call. And when I left my own town, there were five automobiles or cars in town. Now you can find, ask Tony, you can't find a place to park with only 1,200 people.
And that's the way you called me from Germany, yes, with an appointment on the phone line.
Pete, were you part of Santa Fortunata?
Pardon me? No, I was never involved with Santa Fortunata, but I lived 1 block away on Chase Avenue.
Well, wasn't there a Santa Rosalita?
Santa Rosalia too, yeah.
On
But
Chase.
Santa Rosalia folded first, and then Santa Fortunata.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also on Meeker Avenue there was Sons of Italy, the club. And we all belonged there, and then the older generation kicked us out because we have modern ideas, you see. As Joe and Sam are here, they're humble. Sam, he had a bakery on Collins Street. He was the president one time, and how many of you remember? Tabella. How many of you guys remember Tabella? Well, Tabella was a councilman in town, right? And I recall one time at Sons of Italy, we were having a meeting, and Mr. Tabella was running for councilman. And he was a member, but just like here, he didn't participate too much. So he showed up asking for the vote. And I remember old Sam Governor said, "You no come to the club, we no vote for you."
Before you finish, I want to show them both Pacentro and Rome, okay?
Okay, well, if there are no more questions, I'm done.
Look behind you, explain when, ask Paula needs something.
By the way, Pacentro means center of peace. But believe you me, that's no peace.
Pete's on a roll, so I probably won't get a word in the rest of the day. I want to say this while I got a chance. Next month, the 20th of February, Wednesday at 7 p.m., Tony Randolino Sr. will be our speaker. I hope you will all come back. And again, thank you all for attending tonight. And when they're finished with this, please help yourself to some cookies and some coffee.
No.
Oh.
Explain what I'm gonna show.
Hey, boys, Marco, Lorenzo, come here.
Okay, this is a the 1600th
Come here.
century castle called Castello Caldora. It's in very sad shape now. They spent a lot of money trying to fix it, but the only thing they were able to salvage is one room, and I guess it was the main room when people lived there.
Pete, the people that are living there now, what's their employment? What are they doing?
Well, until not long ago, a lot of them worked at the Fiat down in Solona. But now that at one time I understand they had 5,000 employees. Now they have just like Caterpillar in Joliet, from 8,000 people down to 300. And most of the young people, once they get done with school, they all leave. That's why the town, like I said, from 5,000 people down to 1,200 people now.
Just like small towns.
This is the grocery. This is the
store.
Dominic food store next
That's the
door to
grocery
my
store.
house.
That's the grocery store.
I'll tell you, the store is about as big as this room, but anything that you want, anything that you need, you go there, you'll find it. Anything. And this is the logo in front of the grocery store. And this is on the left, there's a little church there. Next to the church, there's one of the most famous restaurants in Italy. It's called Caldora. And Tony's been there. Angeline and John have been there. And it's really good. And everything that you eat there, it's homegrown. Right from there, because in the morning, all the farmers come into the restaurant and they bring in the stuff.
This is another restaurant though, on the right.
And on the right side, there's a pizza joint. This is the back of the grocery store there. There's a main street. Is that me over there? That's the priest. This is the main street. And the mountain is Borrone. On the other side is San Vittorino. Those are the street going to the castle. This house gives you an idea how they lived during and right after the war. And look underneath the bed. What is under there? The lady was ready to go, so she had the casket right underneath the bed. And that's the lady that lived there in that house. This is the oldest church in town. Yeah. Yeah.
All they call the bottom, so that people are.
And this is the front door to the city hall. And that's Pietro Corsetti. And this is the main church.
How old is it?
1600.
You mean to say a town with 1,200 people has how many churches?
Right now, this is the only church open now.
But they used to have 120.
Everywhere you go to, there's a church, which is not used anymore, but they're still there.
No, because all the big families have
Their own chapel.
and that's called the church. All the bishops support that.
This is the main fountain in the main piazza by the church. There's the front of the church, which Yeah, this is one that I told, we, here in the States, we collected, a few years back, we collected $80,000 to redo the whole front of the church. Most of the money came from Detroit. Yeah, this building, the front of this building was redone last summer. It was all cleaned up and it looks completely different, yeah. Yeah.
No, I'm not me.
And that's an old Fiat, the Cinquecento. That mountain, every year in September, first Sunday of September, there's a tradition in town. The Feast of Madonna di Loreto. Also, there's a barefooted race. Barefooted. The kids go up the mountain, and when they hear the bell, the church bell ringing, they run all the way down and up to the church. And you should see those feet. Because that's what they say, that when Caldora was the ruler of the town, he needed a young man with a lot of guts, not to say something else, for the army. And that was the way to prove that they had enough guts and they were good enough to be in his army, by raising barefoot. And they still do it. Don't they win something, Peter? Oh, back in those days, they used to get a piece of cloth that was big enough to make a suit. But now, the first prize, he gets a couple €1,000 and a suit, and so they all get something. But I never participated. No, I didn't have the guts. No. Mushrooms.
No. That was the liver that you talked me into eating. Oh, no.
Hey, you know, in Joliet, when there was the D'Amico restaurant in Joliet, Angie, they were famous for making chicken liver. Gizzards, yeah.
Gizzards, not liver.
And that's my own town.
Pete, do you still have a home there?
Yeah.
Is that where you go?
Yeah, right next door to the Dominic's home store.
Oh, that's a really cool picture.
Hold up.
Now, when you go there, you fly to where?
Can you people see that house way back there? That was the house my grandfather built. Wow. You get up there.
That's a cool picture.
Where do you fly? What airport do you fly to?
There's Simona down there at the bottom.
15 minutes from the airport to my hometown.
It could be pretty cool there to go in the winter time.
Where do you land?
The first time I went back to my hometown, all the kids I grew up with, they were all gone. There wasn't one single guy left in town, except Pete. He was the only guy. Everybody else is gone. And I told myself, if I want to come back here again, I have to make new friends. Now, believe you me, my wife is here. For me to walk about 150 yards, it takes me about half an hour. Because I know everybody in town.
He does.
Oh, that's Speedy. That's the front